If you're ready to stop chasing and start commanding, hit subscribe. Stop chasing money. Stop running after something that was designed to follow you. Money doesn't respond to desperation. It responds to direction. It flows where certainty lives, where clarity leads, where discipline reigns. The reason money escapes you isn't because you're not working hard enough. It's because you're working in the wrong energy. This audiobook isn't about getting rich overnight. It's about becoming the kind of person money can't ignore. You were never meant to chase money. You were meant to command it. So take a breath. Step into your power. And if you haven't yet, hit that subscribe button right now, because from this moment on, you're not just listening, you're transforming. Let's begin. Chapter 1. Stop chasing. Start attracting. Stop chasing money. Start attracting it. Let that truth sink in. Every time you chase something, you declare that you don't have it. You broadcast lack. You send a message to the world and to your subconscious that you are incomplete, that something outside you has the power you don't, and money senses that energy instantly. It doesn't run toward you. It runs away. You've been told that working harder, hustling longer, pushing non-stop is the key. But that's a lie the world sold you to keep you exhausted and compliant. Money doesn't respond to exhaustion. Money responds to alignment. You see, there's a difference between movement and momentum. Movement looks busy, but momentum creates results. You can move all day, every day, and still stay in the same place. You can hustle 16 hours a day and still be broke, because hustle without alignment is noise without direction. Money doesn't come to the loudest person in the room. It comes to the clearest. Clarity creates magnetism. When you know who you are, what you offer, and why it matters, you stop chasing, and the world starts chasing you. There's an entrepreneur I once worked with. She was talented, driven, hungry, but she was addicted to the chase. Every week she was running after new clients, pitching harder, discounting more, trying to convince people to buy. And do you know what happened? The harder she pushed, the emptier her calendar became. Her energy screamed scarcity. Her clients felt it. Her offers felt forced. Then one day, she did something radical. She stopped. She stepped back. She built a system. Instead of chasing every sale, she created a value machine, a structure that worked for her. She automated her emails, refined her message, built content that taught, inspired, and proved her expertise. Within 3 months, clients started coming to her. No more begging, no more chasing, no more convincing, because money follows mastery. Money follows clarity. Money follows flow. You've been programmed to think attraction means passivity. It doesn't. Attraction is not laziness. It's precision. It's the difference between shouting into a storm and building a lighthouse. One gets drowned out, the other gets noticed. You have a choice. You can keep chasing, or you can build something that attracts, and attraction begins with alignment. Ask yourself, what do I truly want to create? What problem do I actually solve? Who am I here to serve? If you can't answer those questions, you'll always default to pursuit, because uncertainty breeds desperation. Desperation destroys flow. You must understand, money is energy. It flows through systems of clarity and purpose. It doesn't show up because you demand it. It shows up because you deserve it. Deserve doesn't mean worthy in a moral sense. It means you've done the work. You've built the container. You've structured the system. Imagine 2 rivers. One flows through a deep carved channel, smooth, powerful, unstoppable. The other spreads across dry land, scattered, chaotic, disappearing into nothing. Same water, different structure. The first river is alignment. The second is hustle without direction. You can't attract wealth when your energy leaks in every direction. You can't magnetize money when your attention is scattered, your habits inconsistent, your goals undefined. That's the key. Alignment creates containment. Containment creates flow, and flow brings money. Every time you chase, you tell money, I need you. Every time you attract, you tell money, I'm ready for you. That difference, that posture, is everything. So how do you shift from chasing to attracting? You start by replacing effort with intention. Effort says, I'll try everything. Intention says, I'll master one thing. Effort spreads you thin. Intention makes you magnetic. The most successful people in the world aren't chasing 100 opportunities. They're cultivating one with relentless focus. They don't need to pursue wealth. Their mastery draws it in. You don't need more strategies. You need more stillness. You don't need more hustle. You need more alignment, because money doesn't follow confusion. Money follows clarity. Money follows mastery. Money follows flow. Say it out loud. Money follows mastery. Money follows clarity. Money follows flow. Repetition isn't magic, it's programming. Every time you repeat it, you're reprogramming your identity to attract, not chase. You were taught to chase approval, validation, and status. But attraction comes from embodiment. People don't buy from you because you need them to. They buy because they trust you. They trust you because you're steady, because your energy is clean, because you're clear on what you offer and why. That's the foundation of attraction, energetic congruence. When what you think, what you say, and what you do are in harmony, you become a magnet. The world feels that. Clients feel that. Money feels that. Here's the truth most people never accept. You cannot attract from scarcity. If your mind says, I need money now, your energy says, I don't have enough. And the universe mirrors that belief perfectly. So instead of saying, I need, start saying, I'm ready. Instead of saying, I hope, start saying, I'm aligned. Instead of saying, I'll chase, start saying, I'll create. Because creation is attraction in action. The more you create, value, content, systems, solutions, the stronger your magnetic field becomes. You don't attract by wanting. You attract by becoming. Look at nature. The sun doesn't chase planets. It pulls them in through its gravity. Your mastery is your gravity. Your clarity is your orbit. Your discipline is your pull. When you become consistent in who you are, what you offer, and how you serve, the world has no choice but to respond. That's why chasing is outdated energy. It's reactive. It's fear-based. It's rooted in the illusion that you're behind. But you're not behind. You're just not aligned. Yet. You can change that today. Decide to become magnetic. Decide to master one path. Decide to live in clarity and flow. Because money follows mastery. Money follows clarity. Money follows flow. You have a choice right now. Keep running in circles or build the system that makes money come to you. You don't need permission. You don't need validation. You don't need to chase what was designed to follow. It's not about working harder. It's about aligning deeper. It's not about hustle. It's about harmony. It's not about chasing. It's about commanding. That's the shift. That's the transformation. That's the moment you stop surviving and start creating. You've learned the first law of wealth, attraction over pursuit. Now, it's time to explore the engine that makes attraction possible, your internal energy. Because without the right frequency, no system, no strategy, no plan will work. You mastered the art of alignment. Now let's talk about the real currency that powers it all. Chapter 2. Your energy is the currency. Money isn't paper. Money isn't metal. Money is energy, and it flows always to those who understand it. You can't attract what you don't respect. You can't hold what you don't understand. And you can't command what you constantly chase. Here's the truth most people ignore. Money doesn't respond to effort alone. It responds to energy. Desperation repels it. Calm confidence attracts it. If you're chasing money from fear, from anxiety, from lack, you're pushing it away. If you're building from peace, from purpose, from power, you're pulling it in. That's the law. That's the pattern. That's the key. Think about this. Have you ever noticed how some people seem to attract opportunity without even trying? They're not the loudest. They're not the flashiest. But they radiate something. A quiet confidence. A steady energy. That's not luck. That's frequency. They've learned how to match the vibration of wealth before it arrives. They think differently. They move differently. They decide differently. Because their energy is anchored, not reactive. And the world responds to that energy every single time. Let me give you a real example. A few years ago, I met two investors at a conference. Both had experience. Both had money. But their outcomes couldn't have been more different. The first one was anxious. Every deal he touched, he second-guessed. He'd talk about opportunity, but his words carried fear. He wanted success, but he radiated scarcity. Every decision came from the fear of losing. Every partnership started with mistrust. And guess what? The deals slipped through his hands like water. Now the second investor. Calm, centered, grounded. When the market dropped, he didn't panic. He studied. He adapted. He made decisions from stillness, not stress. He wasn't chasing money. Money was chasing him. Why? Because his energy was the currency. He matched the vibration of wealth before it arrived. He became the frequency he wanted to attract. That's the difference. That's the invisible game. That's the real wealth strategy. You've been trained to manage money, but no one taught you to manage energy, and that's why you're stuck. You're tracking numbers, but ignoring vibration. You're budgeting dollars, but wasting focus. You're chasing outcomes, but neglecting alignment. Money doesn't start in your bank account. It starts in your body. It starts in how you think, how you move, how you respond. You have to become emotionally fluent to stay grounded when life tests you. When business slows, when results don't show up yet, because money doesn't flow to panic. It flows to peace. You have a choice. You can operate from survival, or you can operate from stability. Survival energy says, I have to make money now. Stability energy says, I'm building something that lasts. Survival energy spends impulsively, reacts emotionally, and burns out fast. Stability energy saves, strategizes, and attracts naturally. It's not about how much effort you put in. It's about how much alignment you maintain. It's not about how hard you grind. It's about how calmly you lead. It's not about chasing. It's about commanding. That's the shift. That's the mindset that separates the rich in energy from the poor in spirit. Here's what you must understand. Energy leaks are money leaks. Every time you complain, you leak energy. Every time you doubt yourself, you leak energy. Every time you compare your journey to someone else's, you leak energy. And when your energy leaks, your flow stops. You can't hold wealth when you're mentally cluttered and emotionally scattered. You can't attract abundance when your internal state screams scarcity. Your nervous system tells the truth long before your words do. You might say you believe in abundance, but your energy reveals the opposite. The universe doesn't listen to your words. It listens to your vibration. That's why calm confidence is priceless. It's magnetic. It's powerful. It's contagious. When you walk in calm certainty, people trust you. When you lead with grounded energy, money follows you. Because wealth moves towards stability. So how do you raise your financial energy? 3 simple practices. Start your day in neutrality. Before you check your phone, your messages, your numbers, get still. Breathe. Center yourself. You must lead your energy before you lead your business. That's non-negotiable. Respond. Don't react. When money stress hits, pause. Train your nervous system not to flinch. Reacting is chasing. Responding is commanding. When you can stay calm in financial chaos, you become powerful. Because the market respects emotional control. Speak wealth fluently. Stop using words like I can't afford it or money's hard to make. Language is energy. Every phrase you speak programs your subconscious. Replace I can't with I'm choosing. Wisely. Replace it's hard with I'm growing into it. Replace I'm broke with I'm in transition. You don't need to fake abundance. You need to embody growth. Match the vibration of wealth before it arrives. Say it out loud. Say it again. Let it rewire your mind, because it's not about waiting for money to change your mood. It's about using your mood to change your money. You don't wait to feel secure after you get paid. You feel secure now. You don't wait to feel abundant when you have more. You feel abundant first. That's the paradox of wealth. You must become it before you see it. That's the lesson. That's the law. That's the truth. So here's what I want you to do right now. Check your frequency. If you're anxious, slow down. If you're desperate, breathe. If you're overthinking, pause. You are not behind. You are not broken. You are not late. You're simply misaligned. And alignment can be fixed in an instant through presence, because money doesn't come to the person who needs it. It comes to the person who's ready for it. And readiness is an energy, not a spreadsheet. You have a choice. Every moment, every transaction, every thought, you choose your frequency, fear, or faith. Scarcity or sufficiency. Chasing or attracting. That's the real financial decision you make daily. Not in your wallet, but in your energy. So master it. Guard it. Lead it. Because your energy is the currency. You don't get paid for time. You get paid for presence. You don't get rewarded for effort. You get rewarded for alignment. And you don't attract wealth. You become wealth. That's the difference between those who chase money and those who command it. You've learned the truth. Money flows to energy. Energy flows to intention. Intention creates direction. You've learned how to match the vibration of wealth before it arrives. Now it's time to take that power and ground it in something practical, something visible, something valuable. Because energy without structure is chaos. You've mastered your energy. Now let's talk about how to turn that energy into tangible wealth. Chapter 3. Build value, not vanity, approx. 1,000 words, 8 minutes of spoken audio. Stop trying to look rich. Start being valuable. That's the truth most people can't handle. Because pretending is easier than producing. Because validation feels safer than value. Because likes are easier to earn than legacy. But here's the reality. People don't pay for your image. They pay for your impact. They don't follow what looks shiny. They follow what works. You have a choice. You can keep chasing vanity, or you can start building value. That's the fork in the road that separates the broke from the wealthy. You see, the world rewards usefulness, not appearance. Money flows toward function, not fiction. It doesn't care how successful you look online. It only cares how many people's problems you solve offline. You want to attract wealth? Become valuable. That's the law. That's the code. That's the game. And yet, too many people are busy polishing their image, not their skill. Too busy curating aesthetics, not creating assets. Too busy chasing attention, but not building solutions. You don't need more followers. You need more follow-through. You don't need to post another hustle quote. You need to live it. You don't need validation. You need vision. That's the key. Let me tell you a story. There was an artist, talented but broke. He spent years pretending to be successful, posting pictures in rented studios, wearing brands he couldn't afford, curating the illusion of wealth, but never touching it. One day, he got tired of pretending, tired of chasing likes. So he stopped posting, and he started building. Instead of trying to look rich, he decided to be valuable. He learned marketing. He studied human behavior. He asked, what problem can I solve with my art? He started painting custom murals for small business owners who wanted attention. He turned his creativity into service. He turned vanity into value. Within a year, he was booked out. Not because he looked successful, but because he became useful. That's the shift. You don't get paid for showing off your life. You get paid for showing up for others. Money doesn't chase aesthetics. Money chases alignment. And alignment comes from value. When you create something that solves pain, that improves life, that saves time, you become magnetic. You become needed. You become inevitable. Vanity fades. Value compounds. And compounding is where wealth is born. You have to stop asking, how can I look more successful? And start asking, how can I make more people's lives better? That's the pivot. That's the transformation. Because when you focus on impact, income follows. Always. Here's what you need to understand. We live in a world drowning in content, but starving for substance. Everyone's showing, but no one's serving. Everyone's marketing, but no one's mastering. And you can't win the wealth game by playing the attention game. You win by building things that matter. You want to make more money? Solve bigger problems. Serve deeper needs. Deliver better results. That's it. That's the formula. People don't pay for your image. They pay for your impact. Say it again. People don't pay for your image. They pay for your impact. It's not about being seen. It's about being sought after. And the only way to become sought after is to make yourself essential. So how do you do that? Start by mastering one thing, not 10, not 20. 1. Mastery is magnetic. Be so good at what you do that your name becomes a solution. Be so consistent that your reputation speaks before you do. Be so disciplined that people trust your word more than your pitch. That's value. You don't need their permission to build it. You don't need to announce it. You just need to commit to it, daily. Every hour you waste scrolling is an hour you could have spent sharpening your edge. Every post you write for validation is a distraction from value creation. Every minute spent comparing yourself to others steals momentum from your mission. You have a choice. Stop performing. Start producing, because performance looks rich. Production is rich. Let's get practical. Ask yourself these 3 questions every day. What problem am I solving? Who benefits from my work? How can I deliver 10x more value today than yesterday? If you can answer those questions clearly, money will start following you. Because money loves clarity. Money loves momentum. Money loves value. It's not luck. It's alignment. You attract wealth by earning relevance. You keep it by maintaining reliability, and both start with value. But here's the trap. Vanity feels good now. Value feels good later. That's why most people stay broke. Because they want recognition before they earn respect. They want comfort before they build competence. They want status before they create substance. Don't fall for that trap. The world doesn't reward noise. It rewards usefulness. Stop trying to prove yourself. Start trying to improve yourself. That's the mindset shift that changes everything. You don't need another strategy. You need another standard. Raise it, keep it, live it. The truth is, wealth isn't the reward for popularity. It's the reflection of value delivered. The more people you help, the more valuable you become. And the more valuable you become, the more money follows naturally. That's the flow. That's the frequency. And you can't fake frequency. You can only build it, so build it. Brick by brick. Skill by skill. Habit by habit. Become undeniable. Because when you become undeniable, money has no choice but to find you. You were never meant to chase attention. You were meant to command influence. And influence comes from value, not vanity. Remember, people don't pay for your image. They pay for your impact. Let that line echo in your head until it becomes your standard. Because that's how wealth is built. Through unwavering value and uncompromising discipline. You've stopped chasing the illusion. Now you're starting to build substance, and that's where transformation begins. You built value, not vanity. Now it's time to take that power one step deeper, into action. You've learned that wealth follows value. But what fuels value? Consistency. So next, we're going to talk about what separates the dreamers from the doers. Chapter 4. Master the flow, not the hustle. You've been told to hustle. To grind harder. To sleep less. To outwork everyone. But that's not mastery. That's chaos. Hustle is movement without meaning. It's activity without alignment. It's being busy without being effective, and you've seen it. People who hustle all day, yet never move forward. They're running fast, but they're running in circles. That's not wealth. That's exhaustion disguised as ambition. Flow is different. Flow is direction. Flow is rhythm. Flow is clarity in motion. Flow creates momentum. Momentum creates money. That's the key. You don't need to hustle harder. You need to flow smarter, because hustle burns out energy. Flow multiplies it. Hustle is about control. Flow is about connection. When you're in hustle mode, you force outcomes. When you're in flow, you attract them. Money doesn't respond to chaos. It responds to rhythm. It responds to precision. It responds to calm power. You have a choice, to keep hustling out of desperation or to start flowing from direction. Let me give you an example. There was a CEO who was addicted to the grind. He prided himself on being the first one in and the last one out. He answered every email, sat in every meeting. He lived in constant motion, yet his business was stagnating. He was chasing speed, not progress. He was hustling, not leading. One day, he did something radical. He stopped. He took a week off. No meetings, no emails, just silence. He came back with a new rule: 4 hours of deep work per day. Everything else, delegated or deleted. Within 3 months, productivity doubled. Revenue grew. Team morale arose. Not because he worked more, but because he worked in flow. That's the lesson. The wealthy don't chase chaos. They create rhythm. They understand that focus is more powerful than frenzy. That direction is more valuable than speed. That rest is a weapon, not a weakness. Listen carefully. Hustle looks productive. Flow is productive. Hustle says, do more. Flow says, do what matters. Hustle scatters your energy. Flow channels it. And that's what creates wealth. Not the hours you put in, but the energy behind them. Flow creates momentum. Momentum creates money. Say it again. Flow creates momentum. Momentum creates money. You've been conditioned to equate motion with progress. But movement isn't always momentum. Sometimes it's avoidance. You keep busy so you don't have to face stillness. You chase tasks so you can feel significant. You fill your schedule because silence scares you. But silence is where flow begins. You don't master flow by adding more. You master it by removing noise. Stop saying yes to everything. Stop reacting to every notification. Stop letting urgency control your attention. You don't need more hustle. You need more hierarchy. That's the key. Here's what mastering flow actually looks like in real life. Clarity in direction. You start your day knowing your top 3 outcomes, not your endless to-do list. Hustlers chase tasks. Masters chase results. Deep focus. You give yourself space to think, to create, to strategize. No interruptions. No noise, no multitasking. Energy alignment. You work when your energy is high. You rest when it dips. You ride the rhythm instead of resisting it. System over speed. You build structures that move without your constant input. Automation, delegation, repetition. That's real leverage. That's how the wealthy move. That's how the powerful operate. They don't chase the wave. They become the wave. Let's talk about why hustle is so seductive. Hustle feeds the ego. It makes you feel important. It gives you the illusion of control. But flow requires humility. It forces you to surrender, to trust timing, to follow direction instead of addiction. That's why most people never master flow. It requires stillness, and stillness requires self-control. But here's the truth. The more you chase, the more it runs. The more you force, the more resistance you create. Money, opportunities, creativity, they all flow to those who can receive. You can't receive when you're tense. You can't receive when you're frantic. You can't receive when your life is chaos. Flow is the opposite of tension. Flow is where wealth lives. You don't need more hours. You need more harmony. You don't need to wake up earlier. You need to wake up aligned. You don't need to run faster. You need to move smarter. Flow is the art of direction over desperation. You have to start asking yourself, is this movement or momentum? Am I working from clarity or from fear? Because fear fuels hustle. Purpose fuels flow, and purpose always wins. Here's a truth most people miss. When you move in flow, you actually do less, but achieve more. Because your actions are amplified by intention, you stop wasting energy on distractions. You stop scattering your focus across 50 priorities. You stop glorifying busyness as a badge of honor. Instead, you move with rhythm. You create cycles of deep work, deep rest, deep reflection. You operate in seasons, not seconds. And that's what sustains momentum. Rhythm, flow creates momentum. Momentum creates money. That's not a slogan. That's a principle. Here's how you start applying it today. Audit your day. Look at everything you do. Eliminate what doesn't move the needle. Guard your focus. Turn off distractions. Silence notifications. Protect your mornings. Design your rhythm. Schedule your energy, not your hours. Work with your body, not against it. Prioritize rest. Rest isn't escape. It's maintenance for mastery. And finally, trust the flow. The same river that carves through mountains doesn't rush. It aligns. That's how power works. Quietly, consistently, inevitably. You've been taught to hustle harder. But the truth is, hustle is what you do when you lack direction. Flow is what you enter when you've found it. So stop fighting the current. Start moving with it. Flow creates momentum. Momentum creates money. That's your new mantra. That's your new rhythm. You don't need to burn out to build wealth. You need to align your energy with your mission and let it move through you. Because money doesn't come from force. It comes from flow. You've learned to master your rhythm, to stop hustling, to start flowing. Now it's time to take that energy and direct it toward what truly multiplies your wealth, your discipline. You've mastered the flow. Now let's master the foundation. Chapter 5. The Hidden Cost of Financial Fear. Approx. 1,050 words, 8 minutes of spoken audio, fear. It's the invisible tax on your potential. It's the silent killer of prosperity. It's the real reason most people never break free from financial struggle. You think money is the problem. It's not. Fear is, because fear distorts vision. Fear paralyzes action. Fear blocks flow. And you can't attract what you're afraid of. You can't hold money with shaky hands. Say it again. You can't hold money with shaky hands. When you move through life afraid to lose, you've already lost. Because fear shifts your focus from creation to protection, from offense to defense, from opportunity to survival. Every financial decision made in fear leads to loss, not always immediately, but inevitably. You play too small. You hesitate too long. You overthink when you should execute. That's how fear works. It disguises itself as logic. It sounds reasonable, but it's actually resistance. It tells you, wait for the right time. It tells you, be careful. It tells you, don't take risks. But fear doesn't protect your wealth. It prevents it. You have a choice. You can keep listening to fear, or you can start leading with faith. That's the key. Let's talk about one of the most expensive lessons in finance. The investor who froze. Years ago, a man had built a small fortune investing in the stock market. He wasn't reckless. He wasn't greedy. He was steady, disciplined. Then, the market dipped. Headlines screamed panic. Everyone was selling. Fear took over. He sold too. He told himself he was playing it safe. But a few months later, the market recovered. And then it soared. He didn't just lose money. He lost momentum. He lost confidence. And the next time opportunity appeared, he hesitated again. Fear had trained him to retreat. That's what fear does. It rewires your behavior for loss. You become allergic to risk and addicted to security. But security without growth is just a slower form of decline. You can't hold money with shaky hands. You can't build wealth on a foundation of fear. Fear doesn't just make you lose money, it makes you lose time. And time is the one thing you can never get back. You wait for perfect conditions. You wait for permission. You wait until it feels right. But wealth doesn't grow in waiting. It grows in motion. You don't need certainty to start. You need courage to continue. That's the difference between those who win and those who wish. The wealthy don't operate from fear. They operate from faith. Faith in their ability to adapt, adjust, recover, and rise. They understand that loss is part of the game. But paralysis? That's self-inflicted poverty. Let's be clear. Fear isn't something you eliminate. You don't outgrow it. You outtrain it. Fear doesn't go away. You just stop obeying it. That's the key. You stop giving it the steering wheel. You stop letting it dictate your financial moves. You learn to feel fear and still take aligned action. That's what separates the wealthy from the worried. The wealthy still feel fear, but they move anyway because they know the cost of standing still is always higher than the cost of falling forward. You have to understand this truth. Fear will keep you broke longer than failure ever will. Failure teaches. Fear traps. Failure sharpens you. Fear softens you. Failure moves you closer to mastery. Fear keeps you circling the same starting line. You can't hold money with shaky hands. Every time you make a financial decision in fear, you broadcast scarcity. You're telling the universe, I don't believe more will come. That's not strategy. That's surrender to limitation. And money can feel that energy. It responds to your belief system. It multiplies under confidence and evaporates under anxiety. That's not magic. That's mindset. Your energy is the currency behind every transaction. If you're operating from lack, you'll keep manifesting situations that reinforce it. You'll attract people who underpay you. You'll attract deals that drain you. You'll attract opportunities that fall apart. Because fear doesn't attract abundance. It attracts more fear. That's why you have to discipline your emotional energy as much as your financial plan. You can't manage money if you can't manage yourself. It's not about perfection. It's about posture. Stand tall in your finances, even when it's uncertain, even when it's uncomfortable, because fear can only dominate you when you bow to it. You have a choice, right now. You can live in reaction, or you can lead with reason. You can panic like the crowd, or you can prepare like the calm, because calm is power. Calm is clarity. Calm is wealth. The wealthy don't panic when the market shifts. They pivot. They don't freeze when challenges appear. They adapt. They don't cling to comfort. They build capacity. They've trained their nervous system for volatility. You can do the same. Start by controlling what you can. Your mindset, your discipline, your energy. That's where stability begins. Stop watching the noise. Start studying the patterns. Stop focusing on fear. Start focusing on flow, because what you focus on multiplies. You can't hold money with shaky hands. Let's bring this home. Every financial fear you have, fear of loss, fear of risk, fear of not enough, comes down to one root cause: a lack of trust in yourself. You fear losing money because you don't trust you can make it again. You fear making mistakes because you don't trust you can recover. You fear opportunities because you don't trust you deserve them. That's not a financial problem. That's a self-belief problem. When you strengthen belief, you dissolve fear. When you build confidence, you attract certainty, because wealth isn't a number. It's a nervous system that can handle uncertainty. And when you can hold uncertainty with steady hands, you can hold money. Lots of it. That's the key. You can't hold money with shaky hands. So build steadiness, build faith, build resilience. Stop letting fear run your wallet. Start letting courage run your life, because money doesn't follow fear. It follows flow. It follows leadership. It follows trust. You don't need to be fearless. You just need to stop obeying fear. You've seen the cost of fear. You've felt its weight. You've understood how it drains your direction, your peace, and your potential. Now it's time to replace that fear with something unshakable: discipline. Because confidence without control is chaos. An emotion without structure is destruction. You've faced your fear. Now it's time to fortify your foundation. Chapter 6. Discipline, the real freedom. Approx. 1,000 words. Tough love audiobook script. You think freedom is doing whatever you want whenever you want. You think freedom is spontaneous, unstructured, impulsive. That's a lie. That's the illusion sold to you by people who never mastered themselves. Discipline isn't restriction. Discipline is control. And control is the highest form of freedom there is. You can't be free if your impulses control you. You can't be free if your emotions decide your actions. You can't be free if your spending, your eating, your scrolling, your sleeping are all dictated by what feels good in the moment. That's not freedom. That's slavery dressed up as comfort. The man who builds wealth isn't the smartest. He's the one who says no the most. No to distraction. No to comfort. No to the easy way out, because he understands something you might still be fighting. Discipline isn't punishment. It's protection. It protects your goals from your impulses. It protects your money from your emotions. It protects your progress from your laziness. Every time you choose discipline, you're reinforcing power. And power, when repeated daily, becomes prosperity. That's the formula. Control creates power. Power attracts prosperity. Let's make this real. There was a man, ordinary by every measure. He didn't come from wealth. He didn't have rich parents or lucky breaks. He just made one decision. He decided to save $10 a day. Every single day. No excuses, no exceptions. $10 when he was tired. $10 when the bills piled up. $10 when temptation whispered, "Just this once." He ignored it. He stayed disciplined. And over time, that small habit turned into investments. Those investments compounded. That compounding created freedom. It wasn't luck. It wasn't timing. It was discipline. Stacked, repeated, weaponized. You see, freedom doesn't show up when you feel like it. Freedom arrives when you've earned it through consistency, through delayed gratification, through doing what needs to be done, even when you don't want to. That's the real wealth mindset. Most people sabotage themselves because they confuse motivation with discipline. Motivation gets you started. Discipline keeps you going. Motivation is a spark. Discipline is the fire. You can't depend on motivation because it's emotional. It's unstable. It's like a storm. It comes and goes. But discipline? Discipline is the foundation that holds your house steady when everything else shakes. You don't need motivation when discipline takes over, because discipline doesn't ask how you feel. Discipline asks what must be done. Think about your finances right now. Wherever you are, struggling, surviving, or succeeding. It's a reflection of your level of control. How disciplined are you with your income? With your spending? With your habits? You can't attract more money if you can't control the money you already have. You can't expand what you constantly waste. You can't multiply what you never manage. Every dollar has a purpose. If you don't give it one, your impulses will. And your impulses always spend faster than your logic can save. That's why the wealthy treat discipline like oxygen. Because they know without control, the empire collapses. Here's the truth most won't admit. Discipline is harder than motivation because it's quieter. It doesn't look flashy. It doesn't get applause. It's not sexy. No one sees you saying no to a night out to stay focused. No one claps when you cook at home instead of eating out. No one cheers when you invest instead of splurging. But years later, when the world sees your results, they'll call it luck. They'll call it privilege. They'll call it talent. Don't let that fool you. They're just seeing the result of years of private discipline. Discipline is doing what others won't so you can live how others can't. That's the law. And here's where most people fail. They want the reward before the restraint. They want the lifestyle before the habits. They want the outcome without the process. But you can't cheat cause and effect. You can't skip the grind. You can't skip the repetition. That's why the wealthy don't chase chaos. They build rhythm. They operate by principles, not moods. They don't spend based on emotion. They allocate based on intention. They understand that discipline isn't about saying no to life. It's about saying yes to control. So let's make this practical. Here's what you can do right now. Audit your daily habits. Where are you losing control? Where are your impulses running the show? Create small, non-negotiable disciplines. Save before you spend. Schedule before you scroll. Invest before you indulge. Repeat them daily until they become identity. Because once discipline becomes who you are, freedom follows automatically. This is where people misunderstand freedom. They think it's about escape. It's not. Freedom is about alignment. When your actions match your goals, you're free. When your behavior supports your vision, you're free. When your discipline protects your purpose, you're free. Control creates power. Power attracts prosperity. Remember that every day you have a choice. Stay comfortable or take control. Follow your feelings or build your future. The truth is simple. Every time you choose discipline, you build freedom. Every time you give in to impulse, you sell it, and the price is always higher than you expect. So, start today. Master yourself before you try to master money, because money magnifies whatever you already are. If you're disciplined, it multiplies your freedom. If you're reckless, it multiplies your chaos. The choice is yours. You've learned to control yourself. You've learned to protect your power. Now it's time to face the next layer of wealth truth, the one most people avoid. You mastered discipline. Now let's uncover what happens when you step beyond control into creation. Chapter 7. Money loves direction. Money doesn't disappear. It doesn't vanish into thin air. It moves, it flows, and it always flows toward clarity. That's the rule. Money loves direction. Money hates confusion. If your money doesn't have a clear purpose, it will find someone who does. Someone sharper, someone more intentional, someone with a plan. Unclear goals create unclear results. Clear direction creates flow. Most people are broke not because they lack effort, but because they lack direction. They're hustling hard in every direction and going nowhere fast. They confuse activity with progress. They call chaos ambition, but money doesn't reward chaos. Money rewards precision. You can grind every day, but if you don't know what you're aiming for, your energy gets scattered, your focus gets diluted, and your money gets wasted. That's why the wealthy don't chase everything. They define their target, then move with laser focus toward it. They understand something the average person doesn't. Energy without aim equals exhaustion. You can't build wealth that way. You can't build anything that lasts when your foundation is confusion. Let me give you an example. There were two entrepreneurs, both driven, both talented, both willing to work 16-hour days. The first one chased everything, every opportunity, every new idea, every shiny trend. He scaled quickly but aimlessly. His business grew in chaos. Revenue spiked but profits evaporated. Why? Because there was no direction, no structure, no clarity. He didn't tell his money where to go, so his money told him where to go. Bills, debts, emergencies. They controlled him, because he never built a plan to control them. Now, the second entrepreneur, he was different. He didn't move fast. He moved intentionally. He had one clear goal. He said, I want this business to generate $1 million a year with a 40% margin. That's clarity. That's direction. Every hire, every expense, every campaign, he measured against that one destination. Was it contributing to the goal, or was it noise? If it was noise, he cut it. No hesitation. Guess what happened? He hit his target. Not because he worked harder, but because he worked with direction. That's how money works. Money is energy, and energy must be directed. If you don't give your money a destination, it will drift into distractions, into habits, into liabilities. Every dollar in your account is a soldier. You're the general. If you don't assign them a mission, they'll go AWOL. You have to lead your money. You have to command it. If you don't lead it, someone else will. Your emotions, your environment, or the next marketer who sells you the thing you didn't know you needed. That's the truth most people won't admit. They're not broke because they don't make enough. They're broke because they never told their money what to do. Unclear goals create unclear results. Clear direction creates flow. So let's get real. Where's your money going? Do you know exactly what every dollar is doing for you? Do you know the destination of your cash flow? Or are you hoping it just works out? Hope is not a financial strategy. Direction is. When you sit down and map your financial flow, everything changes. You start to feel power again. Because suddenly your money isn't a mystery. It's a tool. You start to decide, not react. You start to act, not wait. You start to lead, not follow. That's the shift from chaos to command, and it doesn't just apply to business. It applies to everything. Your time, your energy, your focus. They're all forms of currency. They all demand direction. If you don't aim your energy, it gets stolen. If you don't aim your attention, it gets hijacked. If you don't aim your money, it gets wasted. Money loves direction because direction builds discipline, and discipline builds freedom. Remember, you can't hold money with shaky hands. You can't grow money with shaky goals. Your goals must be precise. Not, I want to be rich. Not, I want to be successful. Those are wishes, not directions. Be specific. Define the number. Define the timeline. Define the method. When you do that, you send a signal to your brain, to your actions, and to your money. That signal says, this is where we're going. And money listens to clarity. Here's a truth that might sting. If your bank account looks scattered, it's because your focus is scattered. If your income is inconsistent, it's because your actions are inconsistent. If your results are confusing, it's because your direction is confusing. Money doesn't respond to noise. Money responds to order. You have a choice. You can keep winging it, or you can start commanding it. You can stay reactive, or you can start being intentional. That's the key. You don't need more hustle. You need more direction. Because clarity is the multiplier. The sharper your focus, the faster your flow. Unclear goals create unclear results. Clear direction creates flow. So here's your challenge. Create a money map. Step 1. Write down your exact monthly income. Step 2. Label where every dollar should go. Savings, investments, essentials, education, growth. Step 3. Track it weekly. Step 4. Adjust fast when reality shifts. Simple? Yes, easy? No. But this is what separates the powerful from the reactive, because you can't flow if you don't know where you're going. You can't attract abundance if you're broadcasting confusion. Money loves direction. It loves order. It loves purpose. Give it one. You don't need their permission to take control. You don't need the perfect moment to start. You need clarity. That's the key. When you know exactly where you're headed, money becomes your ally, not your enemy. It flows in rhythm with your vision. It expands under your command because money isn't emotional, it's obedient. And it obeys the one who knows where they're going. So decide, define, direct. Unclear goals create unclear results. Clear direction creates flow. You've learned how to command your focus. You've learned how to give money a mission. Now it's time to take that clarity and multiply it through systems that build wealth automatically. You gave money direction. Now let's talk about how to build engines that keep it moving. Chapter 8. Become a producer. Not a consumer, you can't attract wealth while you worship consumption. You can't become powerful while you act like a follower. And you can't master money while you behave like everyone else. Here's the truth. The world is divided into two kinds of people, producers and consumers. One builds the system. The other feeds it. Producers lead. Consumers follow. Decide who you are. Every time you scroll, you make someone else richer. Every time you click, you feed another system. Every time you consume mindlessly, you sell your focus for free, and focus, that's your real currency. The modern world is designed to keep you consuming, to keep you hungry, to keep you chasing, because the system thrives on your distraction. You have a choice. You can stay a consumer, chasing the next thing, or you can become a producer, creating what others chase. That's the key. Money flows in one direction, from consumer to producer, from buyer to builder, from audience to creator. Look around. The people you admire, the ones with freedom, with control, with wealth, they're not scrolling. They're building what the world scrolls for. They're not reacting to content. They're producing it. They're not influenced, they're the influencers. The energy of consumption is passive. The energy of creation is powerful. Money responds to power. If you want to attract money, you must speak its language. And that language is creation. Producers create. Consumers consume. Producers lead. Consumers follow. Decide who you are. Let me show you how powerful that shift is. There was a young woman who spent hours every day on social media. She followed influencers, studied trends, bought products, and envied their lifestyle. She consumed every single day, information, entertainment, advice, but produced nothing. One day, she asked herself a brutal question. What if I used this same energy to create instead of consume? That question changed everything. She started small. She turned her daily notes about mindset and motivation into posts. Her followers grew. Then she packaged her best insights into an ebook, then a course, then a community. Within 2 years, she had built a digital product empire from the same platform she once used to waste time. Nothing changed except one thing, her identity. She stopped being a consumer. She became a producer. That's the transformation wealth demands, because money doesn't come to those who take, it comes to those who give value. You don't get rich by wanting. You get rich by creating. Consumption feels good in the moment. Creation feels good for a lifetime. Buying things gives you instant satisfaction. Building things gives you lasting freedom. But here's the trap. Most people never escape the loop. They consume content about success. They consume advice about wealth. They consume stories of other people's greatness, but they never produce their own. They think reading more, watching more, scrolling more will bring clarity. It doesn't. It brings confusion. You don't need more input. You need more output. You don't need more information. You need implementation. That's the key. If you want to change your financial destiny, start producing something. It doesn't have to be perfect. It doesn't have to be massive. It just has to start. Write, teach, build, design, create. The world rewards those who turn thoughts into things. That's the economy of the future. The creator economy. The one who creates value controls the flow. The one who only consumes it stays trapped in it. Ask yourself every day, am I producing or just consuming? That question will change your life if you answer it honestly, because if all you do is consume, your focus is for sale. If you produce, your focus becomes an asset. Look at the richest people on earth. They're producers, every single one of them. They produce platforms, products, systems, movements, and those who consume their creations make them richer. The irony? Most people complain about the wealthy while funding their wealth through their own consumption. Netflix doesn't make you money, but the person who created Netflix gets paid every month. Instagram doesn't pay you to scroll, it pays its producers. Amazon doesn't reward you for buying, it rewards those who sell. The lesson is simple. If you're not producing, you're paying. You can't attract money while acting like its customer. You attract money by becoming its creator. Producers lead. Consumers follow. Decide who you are, and let's be clear, producing doesn't just mean starting a business. It means owning your output. If you're in a job, produce results that make you irreplaceable. If you're in a creative field, produce value that multiplies itself. If you're a teacher, produce transformation. Production is about value. It's about direction. It's about control. When you start producing, your self-respect changes. Your energy changes. Your posture changes. You stop asking for permission. You start commanding attention. Because producers operate from power. Consumers operate from dependence. You have a choice. You can either feed the system or build one. You can either follow the narrative or write your own. That's the key. Here's what I want you to do right now. A simple, life-changing exercise. For the next 30 days, track your ratio of consumption to production. Every time you consume something, a video, a post, a product, mark it down. Every time you produce something, a post, a plan, a project, mark that down too. At the end of 30 days, you'll know who you really are. If your consumption outweighs your production, your energy is flowing outward. If your production outweighs your consumption, your energy is compounding inward, and that's where wealth begins, when your energy compounds instead of leaks. You don't need their permission to create. You don't need to wait until you feel ready. You don't even need to know the perfect strategy. Start where you are. Use what you have. Do what you can. Every creator starts as a consumer who made a decision. Every producer started broke, uncertain, or unseen. The difference is, they didn't stay there. They made the shift. And that shift changed everything, because money doesn't chase the consumer. Money follows the creator. Money follows value. Money follows power. Producers lead. Consumers follow. Decide who you are. You've learned to stop consuming and start creating. You've learned to shift your energy from dependency to command. Now it's time to learn how to turn your creations into systems that work while you rest. Because true wealth isn't built by working harder. It's built by multiplying smarter. You became a producer. Now let's build systems that never sleep. Chapter 9. Detach from the outcome. You've been told to work harder, to grind longer, to chase the result until it finally bends to your will. But here's the brutal truth. Your obsession with the outcome is the very thing killing your progress. Clutching chokes the flow. The tighter you grip money, the faster it slips away. You think control means holding tighter. It doesn't. It means trusting the process you built. Because when you're obsessed with how fast the reward comes, you stop doing what actually creates it. That's the paradox of wealth. The moment you need the result too much, you repel it. You've felt this before. The sale that didn't go through because you were desperate. The client who ghosted you the moment you started chasing too hard. The investment you forced that turned into a disaster. It wasn't bad luck, it was energy. Desperation energy. Money can smell desperation. It avoids it. It flows to those who command, not cling. Let's make this clear. Detachment is not laziness. Detachment is confidence. It's the quiet power that says, I've done the work. Now I let the flow take over. When you're attached, you suffocate the process. When you're detached, you trust the process. That's the key. You don't need to chase every coin. You need to create systems that attract coins on their own. You don't need to control every variable. You need to control your discipline. It's not about needing the outcome. It's about becoming the kind of person who earns it naturally. Think of the entrepreneur who never stopped forcing. Every week they changed strategy. Every day they panicked over numbers. Every hour they checked metrics, analytics, and dashboards. They were working, yes, but not flowing. Then one day they stopped chasing. They built a system, a rhythm, a routine that didn't depend on the dopamine of instant results. And in that stillness, revenue tripled. Why? Because they stopped operating from fear and started operating from trust. That's when flow begins. When you release the need, the flow begins. Say it again. When you release the need, the flow begins. Attachment is fear disguised as ambition. It whispers, what if it doesn't work? It pushes you to micromanage, overthink, overanalyze. But detachment, true detachment, is rooted in faith. Faith in your preparation. Faith in your skill. Faith in the process. You have a choice. You can either live as a slave to your outcomes or as a master of your systems. One path gives you anxiety. The other gives you peace. And peace is where performance thrives. You don't make your best moves under panic. You make them under clarity. Money is like water. When you cup your hands too tightly, it leaks through your fingers. But when you hold them open, steady, patient, confident, the water stays. It gathers. It fills. That's how money behaves. It follows calm hands. You want to attract more? Stop trying to force every outcome. Stop attaching your self-worth to every dollar. Because here's the truth most people can't handle. Money doesn't respect desperation. It respects direction, discipline, and detachment. You don't need their permission to let go. You don't need the universe to prove it's working. You need to decide that your effort is enough, and then move with faith. That's mastery. Look back at your worst financial decisions. The ones that drained you, embarrassed you, or made you feel foolish. Now ask yourself, were you calm when you made them? Or were you desperate for a result? Every bad deal is born from attachment. Every bad investment is fueled by fear. Every bad move is made from impatience. You thought you were being decisive, but you were being attached. The master knows this truth. The less you need the outcome, the faster it arrives. Because freedom, emotional and financial, doesn't come from having money. It comes from not needing it to define you. You have to build that emotional independence before you can sustain financial independence. That's the foundation. When you detach from the outcome, you shift your identity from chaser to creator. You move from scarcity to strategy, from panic to purpose. You stop asking, when will it happen? You start asking, how can I keep improving? And that's the mindset that wins over time. The market rewards consistency, not obsession. The universe rewards alignment, not anxiety. And money? Money rewards calm authority. Here's the challenge for you. This week, stop measuring your progress by the outcome. Measure it by your consistency. Don't celebrate the sale. Celebrate the system that created it. Don't panic when results dip. Strengthen your routine instead. The most powerful people on earth aren't emotionally reactive. They're rhythmically relentless. They know who they are. They trust their system. They don't force flow. They become it. You have that same power. But first, you have to let go. Let go of needing to control everything. Let go of needing instant proof. Let go of that tight grip that's choking your potential. Because the moment you release the need, the flow begins. Every single time. You want abundance? You must learn to let go of needing it. You want freedom? You must stop fearing loss. You want peace? You must stop clinging to control. That's the paradox of mastery. The more you trust the process, the more the process gives back. So breathe. Step back. Detach. You've done the work. Now, let the results unfold on their own timeline. You don't chase. You attract. You don't cling. You command. You don't beg. You build. That's the mindset that separates the obsessed from the unstoppable. You've just learned how to release control, and with it, anxiety, fear, and scarcity. You've learned to trust your system, not your desperation. You mastered detachment. Now, it's time to master something even more powerful. The inner energy that amplifies your external wealth. You mastered detachment. Now, let's go deeper. Chapter 10. Energy is the new currency. How your internal state determines your external success. Because when you control your energy, you control everything. Chapter 10. Become the source. Stop chasing. Stop running after the river like a thirsty wanderer. You're not meant to chase the flow, you're meant to become the spring. That's the truth. Money isn't something you find. It's something that flows from you. Every wealthy person you admire, every creator, every builder, every mentor, they all learned one powerful truth. You don't attract abundance by hunting for it. You attract it by becoming it. That's the key. You don't need their permission. You don't need their validation. You don't even need their approval. You need to become the source. When you chase money, you put yourself beneath it. You become dependent on it. You start making emotional decisions, not strategic ones. But when you become the source, everything changes. Because now, you're not waiting for opportunities. You're creating them. You're not begging for value. You're becoming value. Money doesn't run from people like that. It gravitates toward them. You have a choice. Spend your life chasing other people's rivers, or start building your own spring. Let's talk about the mentor who understood this truth. He didn't compete. He didn't compare. He created. While others were hoarding ideas, he was sharing them. While others were fighting for clients, he was building communities. While others were obsessed with winning, he was helping others win. And because he poured into others, wealth poured back into him. He became the source, and the flow never stopped. That's how it works. When you elevate others, you elevate yourself. When you build systems that help people rise, your wealth multiplies. Because wealth doesn't reward greed, it rewards creation. Be the source. Be the flow. Be the wealth, say it again. Be the source. Be the flow. Be the wealth you've been taught to chase. You've been conditioned to compete, to scramble for what's left. That's a slave mindset. The master doesn't chase the market. They become the market. They don't wait for opportunities. They build them. Stop asking, where's the money? Start asking, how can I create more value? Because that's the real engine of wealth, value creation. The more you give, the more you grow. The more you create, the more flows through you. You don't need to be lucky. You need to be valuable, and value doesn't come from hoarding. It comes from becoming. Let me be clear. This isn't about charity. It's about creation. There's a difference. You're not giving to look good. You're creating to expand. You're not sacrificing. You're scaling. The source never runs out. It expands because it flows. If you want more abundance, stop damming your energy. Stop blocking your flow with fear, ego, or comparison. Start circulating your value. That's what the wealthy understand. Money moves in circles, and you control the circle. You have to start the movement. You have to be the flow. When you circulate value through your words, your products, your leadership, money naturally finds its way back to you. Not because you forced it, but because you became the source that made it possible. Think about it. The sun doesn't compete with the stars. It just shines, and everything around it thrives. You want to be rich? Start shining. Start producing energy instead of consuming it. Start becoming the one people depend on, because that's when you shift from chasing to commanding. That's when you move from scarcity to abundance. You have to stop seeing yourself as a taker and start operating as a creator. Creators never run out. They're not waiting for inspiration. They generate it. They're not hoping for the next opportunity. They build it. That's what being the source means. Be the person who multiplies value wherever they go. Be the person who leaves people better than you found them. Be the person who creates energy, not drains it. Because that's the currency that never devalues. When people trust your energy, they trust your vision. When they trust your vision, they invest in it. And when they invest in it, wealth flows. You want endless opportunity? Stop asking what you can get. Start asking what you can generate. You are not a receiver. You are a transmitter. You don't need their platform. You don't need their permission. You are the platform. That's the mindset of the source. Let's get practical. How do you become the source in your own life? Start by identifying where you've been chasing. Where are you begging for validation? Where are you reacting instead of creating? Then flip it. If you've been consuming, start producing. If you've been comparing, start constructing. If you've been doubting, start deciding. Every time you act instead of wait, you strengthen your flow. Every time you give instead of grasp, you expand your reach. This isn't about being selfless. It's about being strategic. The person who controls the flow controls the wealth. And the only way to control the flow is to become it. Be the source of knowledge. Be the source of value. Be the source of clarity, confidence, and calm. When people feel that energy from you, they'll follow it. Because people don't follow noise, they follow signal. Be the signal. Be the flow. Be the wealth. Repeat it until it becomes your identity. You've spent too long chasing rivers that belong to someone else. Now it's time to dig your own spring. That's your real power, what to create from within. You don't wait for permission. You don't need validation. You build. You produce. You give. And as you do, the flow multiplies. Not because of luck, but because of alignment. When you become the source, money stops being your master. It becomes your messenger. You're not chasing. You're commanding. You're not searching. You're radiating. Be the source. Be the flow. Be the wealth. You've now learned the ultimate truth of cash flow mastery. Money doesn't start outside you. It starts through you. The clearer your flow, the greater your wealth. But there's one final shift you must master. The inner transformation that sustains it all. You became the source. Now it's time to protect that source. Your energy, your mindset, your focus. You became the flow. Now let's talk about how to sustain it. Every day, a new lesson to rewire your wealth mindset. Subscribe now. Money was never your master. It was always your mirror. It mirrors your discipline, your energy, your beliefs, your direction. If you've been chasing, it's because you believed it was running. But money doesn't run, and it waits. It waits for the one who's ready to lead. You don't chase what you already are. You become it. You embody abundance. You breathe it. You live it. So from this moment forward, stop chasing. Start commanding, create value. Control your flow. Respect your energy. Set your direction. Let the world see that you've stopped begging for money and started becoming magnetic to it. This is your challenge. Live like the person money is meant to follow, because when you stop chasing it, it will start chasing you.